Welcome to the video for this session. This session was talking about using the if function. The if function is one of the most commonly used functions in Microsoft Excel. It's also one of the most powerful functions as well. I'm going to go through 3 examples of using the if function in this video. All of the sheets I'll be working on will be in the file that you can download called sample files. The first example will be using a worksheet called if. In the spreadsheet, there's a list of different departments in an organization. It shows their budget for a certain kind of expense, what they actually spent, and it shows whether they're overspent or underspent. You can see the variance is either positive or negative. And obviously, if it's a negative variance, that means they're overspent. So I'm going to click on cell E2, and what I want to do is do a test. I want to test to see if D2 is less than 0. If D2 is less than 0, I want the words overspent to come back. If D2 is not less than 0, I want the word OK to come back. So either going to be overspent or the word OK to come back as the result of this. So to do this test, we're going to be using the if function. So I'm starting in E2. I'm going to start a formula with an equal sign. I'll go to the function button and click on the drop-down arrow. I'll look for if in the list. And in this window, there are 3 parts. The first part is the logical test. I'm going to test to see if D2 is less than 0. So I'll either type or click in D2. I'll put a less than symbol in, which again is the uppercase of the comma on your keyboard. I'll type 0. And off to the side, it'll either say that it's true or false. And in this case, it is true because D2 is less than 0. I'm now going to go to the box that says value of true. It wants to know if, in fact, that logical test is a true statement. In this case, if D2 or the variance is less than 0, what should I bring back as the answer? Well, in this case, I'll bring back the words overspent because they're overspent on their budget. I'll then click in the box that says value of false. It does put quotation marks around the value of true value for us. You can see up here. Quotation marks. It now wants to know in the value of false box, what should I bring back as the answer if in fact D2 is not less than 0? So if the logical test is a false statement. So if D2 is less than 0, that means that D2 is either 0 or positive, and that means that they're not overspent. So I'm going to put in the word OK in this case, so they're OK compared to their budget. So if D2 is less than 0, bring back overspent as the answer. If not, bring back OK as the answer. Now the OK will get quotation marks around it when I click on the OK button. So I'll click OK. And it comes back to my spreadsheet, and overspent shows up. I'll just clean this up here a little bit. Overspent shows up as the result. If I go to the bottom right corner of that cell and get the black cross and double click, I get overspent, OK, OK, and so on based upon the variance status of that particular department. That's one example of using a simple if function. Here's another example. This time I'm on the same file, but I'm going to go to a different sheet this time. This time I'm going to go to a sheet called pass-fail. This is a very similar example to one I just finished doing. Here's a list of student names. It shows their grade for a course. And in column C, I want to indicate whether they pass or fail the course. Now, the pass for this course is a 60. So the logical test will be, we're going to test to see if the first student's grade, which is in cell B4, is greater than or equal to 60. If it is, I want the word pass to show up. If not, I want the word fail to show up. So starting in cell C4, I'll start a formula again with an equal sign. I'll start if. The logical test this time will be the first student's grade, which is B4. I'm going to put a greater than symbol in. That's the uppercase of the period. I'll type an equal sign. I'll type in 60. Again, the passing grade for this course is a 60. And off to the side, it'll say the word false, because in fact, the first person didn't meet the threshold of having a 60 or greater. So I'll go to value of true. It wants now to know if that logical test is a true statement. In other words, if the mark is 60 or greater, what should the result of the formula be? In this case, I want the word pass to show up. I'll go to value of false. Again, quotation marks show up around the word pass. It then wants to know if, in fact, the logical test is a false statement, which means B4 is not greater than or equal to 60. That means they're below 60. I want the word fail to show up. And when I'm done, I'll click OK. And the first person fails. I'll go to the bottom right corner of the cell, get a black cross, and double click. And anybody in this list that has a 60 or greater, I get a pass. If not, I get a fail. So those are 2 examples of using a simple if function. In this third example, it's a bit more complicated. This is going to be an example of using nested ifs together. We're going to be doing 4 or 5 if statements together. And I'm working on a worksheet called grade. If you want to work along with me. In this scenario here, we have a listing of students, their mark, and what I want to do is put their grade in using this mapping over here. So if they have an 85 or greater, I want them to have an A as their grade. If it fails that test, if they have a 70 or greater, a B. Fails that test, a 60 or greater, a C, and so on. So there's 5 possible grades that they can get, A, B, C, D, or F. So I'll click in cell D2 to start the formula. Now, in this case, we've got to do testing on all possible scenarios. We have to test to see if it's an A, a B, a C, a D, or an F. So we'll be doing several if functions together. We're in cell D2 to start. I'm going to start a formula with an equal sign. I'm going to start if, and my first logical test will be on C2. I'm going to test to see if it is greater than or equal to 85. I'll go to value of true based on this grid, based on this mapping over here. If it is greater than or 85, they're marked. They're going to get an A. I'll put a capital A in. I'll go to false, value of false, and it does put quotation marks around, again, the letter A. Now, I'm not sure what the result is at this stage because it still could be a B, a C, a D, or an F, so I've got to do another test. So to do another test, I go back up to the function button, and I click on if again. And what it does up on the formula bar, you can see I've got an if statement nested inside the original if statement. I'm going to test again to see if C2 is greater than or equal to 70. I'll go to value of true. If it is greater than or equal to 70, they're going to get a B. I'll go to value of false. I still don't know what the answer is because it still could be a C, a D, or an F. So I'll do another if statement. The trick is make sure you're in the value of false when you do this. I'll go to the if button again. And again, up in the formula bar, I have 3 if statements going on at the same time. I'm going to test to see if C2 is greater than or equal to 60. Value of true, they get letter C as their grade. We'll go to value of false. Again, I'm still not sure what the answer is. I've got to do another test. So back up to if again on the function button. The next test is C2 greater than equal to 50. If that's true, they're going to get a D. I'll go to the value of false box. Now at this stage, everything would have been, if we would have got to this stage only if we failed all the other tests. If we failed the A test, the B test, the C test, and the D test. At some point, you get to the end of the road, and the last thing you'll put in is for the last value of false will be the last possible option. In this case, the last possible option is an F. So if we fail all the other tests, the last answer would be an F. I'll click OK. You can see up here it's a fairly complicated formula. Answer is D. This person has a 56, which is over 50 but not over 60, so it falls into this category. If I copy this down, the next person, for example, has an F because they are less than 50. Another F. Here's a B because they are over 70 but not over 85. So that's an example of doing several if functions together, nesting them together using multiple ifs.